All right. Hello, everybody. I am Latane Conant, CMO of 6Sense, and I'm so excited to be here and talk to you guys about selling with insights, something, empathy and insights, something that's really, really relevant right now with everything that we're going through. So appreciate you being here. The genesis of this presentation is actually my manifesto for the future of account engagement. So hopefully you like it. I am going to actually ask you 6 questions along the way. And I know that you can't raise your hand and I can't see you nodding or not nodding. But hopefully my questions inspire some thought or at least a virtual fist bump along the way to keep it interesting. So before I get into it, a little bit about me. I currently am the CMO of 6Sense, but I'm actually a recovering software salesperson. So that side of me comes out, and I think you're going to hear a lot of that side of me over the next 20 minutes. And even before 6Sense, I actually focused exclusively for the last 7 years on customer experience. And that really shapes when I think about selling with insights and I think about marketing with insights. So that's an important lens to keep in mind. And when I talk about customer experience, I think a lot about this Forrester study that was done a few years ago called The Age of the Customer. And this study really spoke to me. It went through companies that have really dominated their industry over these different time periods, and there have been these different ages. So Ford and Boeing dominated in the 1900s, which were the age of manufacturing. We then had kind of the age of distribution, which was when Walmart and Toyota were really dominators. And then now, fast forward to where we are in 2020, it's really about the customer and customer experiences, and people that deliver amazing customer experiences are the most successful. And so here comes my first question. So, you know, a customer experience guru who we all know and love is Steve Jobs. And Steve Jobs says you've got to start with the customer experience and work your way back to the technology. And so my first question is, who agrees with this? Who agrees with the age of the customer and really starting with the customer for everything that we do? I agree with it. But there's also another kind of really important point of view that I also agree with, which is Richard Branson. And Richard Branson says, clients don't come first, employees come first. And if you take care of your employees, then the rest will work out. And so who believes Richard Branson? Well, if you're like me, and you're like the company that I spent the last 7 years working with, you believe in both. So at Aperio, we believed that you had to really focus on both the customer and the worker experience, that's what we called it, to compete and win. And so why does that matter? Why does that matter today? Well, I want us to, I guess, zoom out and really start to have that lens on how we market and sell right now. And when we look at this crazy tech stack of sales tech and marketing tech stack, let's just zoom out and really think about the customer or the prospect, which is a future customer. And when we do that, I think we'll have some interesting aha moments that are pretty darn relevant right now. The first aha moment that I have when I think about modern marketing and selling is, why do we treat prospects like dirt? Seriously, why? Why do we treat prospects like dirt? And that's question 3. And what do I mean by treating prospects like dirt? Well, let's think about ourselves when we want to buy. I know when I want to make a purchase, I tend to be a researcher. I like to have things buttoned up. I like to really done my homework. So when I go to buy, the first thing I do is I want to go online and devour research and talk to other people and really learn. And what do we do in modern B2B marketing and selling? What's our first move? When a future customer goes to learn, we put up a form. Nope, don't learn from us. Give us your email. We want to block you from consuming our content. That's our first move. Second move, and it's really why we put the form up, is we're going to email you. We are going to email you a ton. And guess what? Like, I don't know about you guys, but I hate getting tons of email. I'm looking at my inbox right now. I have 24,000 unread emails. I'm kind of a disaster. I've had to declare email bankruptcy twice. I don't want any more emails. Actually, in B2B, we send 300 billion emails a day. There's only 7.7 billion people on the planet. That's crazy. That's not helping us stand out. That's not delivering a great experience to our future customers. And then what's our next move? Call. Hey, you want to make your number? You want to go to club? Get on the phones. Pound out those phone calls. Well, I don't know about you, but I actually have 2 children. And when I see an 847 number come up, because, we spoof the area code numbers, I always pick up, and I'm always nervous because I'm thinking, oh my gosh, something happened to Kate Spear Watson. They're in the neighborhood, or when they were going to school, something's happened at school. And I pick up, and then I get someone trying to make an offer. And it's awful. It's an awful customer experience. And so what does that do? What does that do to our customers and our future customers? Well, it actually is pushing them away. It's having the opposite effect. It's making them want to do more research away from us. It's making them buy in teams, right? So I've got to talk to more people and get more people involved because I'm confused. There's conflicting information. There's too many emails. And it makes me not want to talk to salespeople or pick up the phone. And so the impact of that is what we at 6Sense fondly refer to as the dark funnel. Because the reality is people still are buying. They still are doing research. They still want to be educated. But all of that rich information and data is getting lost in this dark funnel. And as sales and marketing teams, because of our behavior impacting customers' behavior, we're having to work so hard every day. Prospects are in that dark funnel. We've got to find them. So we're going to put in more hours. We're going to make more calls. We're going to get more no's. We're going to do more research. We're going to send out more emails. We're going to hire more AEs to try to get after those insights in that dark funnel so that we can make our numbers. We have to work so hard. And why? Why are we working hard? On the marketing side, we're working hard for an MQL. Who cares about an MQL? I came from sales. I love nice shoes and I love going to sales club. And guess what? MQLs are not going to get you to club and not buy the kind of shoes that I like to buy. And that leads me to my next question for you sales folks out there. Do you care about MQLs? Maybe sometimes they're good every now and then, but for the most part, they're fraught with issues. And I want to unpack what those issues are. I think that the first issue is they're typically either too early. So the person, they literally just want the ebook. They're not ready to buy. And so that's an MQL. Or they're too late, meaning they've done their research and they're ready to go and it's a hot inbound, but they're hot inbounding with us and 10 other people. That's not good. As a salesperson, I wanted to be in there early and really shape the decision. The other challenge with an MQL is it's usually like a contact. And we know in sales, especially in B2B, we need a whole buying team. I need to understand the engagement across that entire buying team so I can really plan my deal, plan my strategy, and plan how I'm going to engage. And typically the scoring is super arbitrary. So they're fraught with issues. And so what we need And the crux of my manifesto and the crux of selling with insights is we need to know who's actually in market. We need to know real engagement. What are they consuming in that dark funnel? What are they researching? What websites are they visiting? Who is on that buying team? Not just that one contact, but that whole buying team. What's the makeup of that? And we want to be positioned and have the highest propensity to win. Show me those accounts, the ones where you think I can be successful. And so I love in-market. I think in-market is the new inbound, and how we have to really rethink our sales and marketing motion, especially now when there's potentially a lot less people out there doing research, coming inbound. We need this data and insights more now than ever. And so let me just kind of walk you through what I just explained. So I talked to you and I said there was that dark funnel. Okay, great, there's that dark funnel. But actually within that dark funnel, people are in these different stages. People are in target. If they're in target, that means they're under a rock. They're doing no research. They're not showing any signs. We as sellers don't want to waste any time or energy on those guys. Then there's a time where they're actually in awareness. So they're starting to show signs of life. They're starting to research and realize that they have a problem. This is a great time for marketing to want to engage. Then they move into something called consideration, where they want to learn and they want to consume all of that content. And we want to be the people that give them that content for them to consume. And then there's this sliver of opportunity, this in-market, this nirvana that I talked about. And that's when they go from wanting to learn to wanting to engage. But they're not going to want to engage with every vendor. They just want to engage with one. And I want to be that vendor. I want all of you guys listening to be that seller that engages at that sweet spot when they go from wanting to learn to wanting to engage. Now, if we wait and they move farther down the funnel, they're going to inbound and we're going to feel excited. But again, they're probably inbounding with a lot of people. And so for the most part, most companies don't have great insights. And so they don't know where accounts are in this cycle. But what we can do when we do start selling with insights, and when you have great intent data and predictive analytics, you can start to know what accounts to spend no time on, what accounts marketing should be warming up for you, what accounts want to learn and are consuming your content, and then boom, exactly when that sweet spot occurs and when you should engage. So I get pretty fired up about this. I love in-market. It's how we've completely arranged our sales and marketing motion. And what I like about in-market is I learned pretty early in my sales career from one of my mentors and old bosses, Chris Heineken, that if you're not in front, so here you see my dogs, if you're not this front dog or one of these front two dogs, guess what? The view is all the same. And so selling with insights is about making sure that we're that front dog. And now what happens? What happens when you are in front and you are that lead dog and you know in market? Well, what if you just not only know in market, but you have a lot of knowledge about your prospects? So I tell you exactly when they're in market, but I also tell you all this other great stuff, like their industry, like exactly what they've been researching, like their persona. I start to shine a light on all of this activity. What happens then? Well, that combination is pretty powerful. And what's powerful about that combination is it allows us to start to reimagine our prospect experience. It allows us to put prospects at the center and say, you know what? Maybe we don't need to do forms. Maybe we don't need to spam them. We don't need to cold call because we know they're in market and we have all this rich information. We can start to be a lot more deliberate in how we're selling. And so we did that at 6Sense. Last July, I said, you know what, we're 6Sense. We're sitting on all of this rich data and information. We can test this out, guys. And we are going to design a new experience. We are going to design an experience with no forms, no spam, and no cold calls. And I called it Project Bold Moves. And I laid this gauntlet out, and we're not perfect. We're working on it all the time, but our values are to really put prospects at the center of our experience. And I want to walk you through that because I think now more than ever, it's actually an imperative for us to be successful. And so I'm going to walk you through what we did and how it's turned out. So for us, no forms means we're letting all that content go. So we want people to learn from us. So you can at any time go to our content hub and consume all kinds of different content. We serve it up very personalized to you because we want you to learn from us. And quite frankly, we don't care about an MQL. We'd rather see you engaging. The other thing that is a big part of this no forms mantra is being able to personalize for timing. So what we do is marketing, my job as CMO, is to see accounts in that dark funnel and actually warm them up, but not just warm them up with any message or any content. Warm them up with a message and content that really aligns to where they are in that buying journey. Again, we want to put the prospect at the center of the process. And so when they're in awareness, I'm not going to tell them, come demo with me, come demo with me. I'm going to give them thought leadership. I'm going to say, hey, why don't you just learn, or maybe we want to expose you some new things. Same with consideration. That's when I'm going to show them my ebook. Then they're going to move into decision, and I'm going to say, okay, like let's prove it to you. I'm going to show you a customer story, or I want you to actually be able to start using a little bit of our product now. And then in purchase, we move them to a demo. So that's our marketing flow, and that's how we're providing air cover to sales. Our content is aligned specifically to those insights. So whatever keywords they're researching that we see in the dark funnel, we're marrying our experience to that. We're also marrying our experience to where they are. So if they're early stage and they're researching ABM, they're going to get a very different content hub and a very different content experience than if they're late stage researching predictive analytics, for example. So this is the first part of selling with insights, is making sure that you've got great marketing air cover, even through the Drift bot. We love Drift. We use Drift, and our Drift bot, again, is tied to those stages and tied to those keywords to make sure we're really putting the prospect at the center of the experience. So we went from forms to really a customer-led digital experience. So that was part one. Part two is about no spam. And so for us, unless an account is in market and we feel like we can really add value with a message, we're not going to send an email. And that's been really empowering and awesome for our BDR and our SDR teams because they've been able to really focus their outbound and their effort on the right accounts and also lead with insights in all of our messaging. And so the reason that we can do that is marketing and sales are incredibly aligned at 6Sense. And so we programmatically create pipeline together using an account-based framework. So every single thing we do is account-based. It's all geared towards what we know are accounts that, again, are showing intent. And marketing warms those accounts up for sales and for outreach to start. And so those insights power our entire process. So if I am a hunter or a BDR, when I come into work every day, I'm not staring at a huge list of accounts like, what do I do? Where do I focus? When I come in, if I'm Cam or I'm Dakota, who you see on the screen, I'm going to see exactly the accounts in market and how long they've been in market, because those are the hottest things for me to work. Insights are running our process. So they come in and they see, okay, great, marketing's warmed these accounts up, we're ready to go. then they can see exactly what happened. So not only do I need to know that they're in market and I get that trigger, but why? So right on the account record, they're able to see the dynamics of the buying team, who's red, who's yellow, who's green, what they've researched, and where they are. This is amazing. And what's even more amazing is the keywords. They know the exact keywords that that prospect is interested in. And so what's great about that is that allows us to shape our outbound messaging and add value. And so we've created something called a value card. And what's great about a value card is we take that keyword, that specific keyword that we know the account is researching, and then we marry it to each key persona so that when we send an email, we're talking about what we know they care about, but we're also personalizing it for why they care about predictive analytics. A head of sales is going to care about forecasting accuracy, for example, if they're researching predictive analytics, whereas someone in marketing ops might care about lead scoring. So we're really making sure that we're highly personalized, not for a parlor trick or based on the baseball team they like, but based on how we add value. That goes right in the subject line, again, very personalized, and boom, that's what delivers engagement. And that is how our outbound process works and how we're able to really do this without spam. So we went from spam to really customer-led engagement based on their signal and what they're interested in and how we add value. And so now here's the last part of our process, and probably the most controversial for all of you sales leaders out there, and this is the no cold calls. And so for us, no cold calls, again, goes back to insights. So we're not going to randomly call people. It doesn't mean we don't use calls. Calls are part of our process. They're an important part of our process, but we're going to make sure that they're in market. Again, we're going to make sure we can add value. Again, which we've talked about. But last is we're going to make sure that we feel like our sellers are really ready to have those conversations. And so we do a lot around enablement. We love Gong. We love Mediafly to make sure that, again, when we do have that connection with a future customer, we can deliver a great prospect experience and can be a great educational connection for them. And so what happens is our sellers, again, no cold calls, they're notified via Slack. So they are always in real time understanding their accounts and what's going on with their accounts and how those accounts are engaging. So they get these daily notifications, which really allows them to have a great pulse on their territory and how they're engaging. We also want to infuse like a multi-channel dynamic. Right? So we actually have a 7 times better response rate with direct mail because we infuse direct mail, which in a very strategic part of the process, which is, again, after they're in market and after we've connected with at least a few members of the buying team. So this is kind of our multi-channel approach to, again, making sure we're not cold calling. We lead with value. So we actually have like value calculators so that our sellers, again, really understand the dynamics of the account. And when they do make that connection, they've already really put together a business case. So they've been able to take the insights that we've been gathering through the marketing process and put that together and say, hey, this is what transformation looks like. This is the ROI that you'll get from making this move. Again, throughout the process, they're really able to track signal and see how is the buying team engaging more or engaging less, and how do I really adjust my sales cycle to make sure that I'm not randomly calling people, I'm adding value and getting more and more members of the buying team engaged. And last, but certainly not least, a very, very important part of our process is our territories. So a key part of making sure that our AEs never have to cold call is making sure they never have a cold territory. And so what we do is we take that in-market signal that we're getting in real time, and every night we're actually making sure that we refresh our 2/3 of our AEs territories with the best accounts. We want to give them the absolute best commercial opportunity to win at any given time. And this was a really interesting move for us. If you look at this chart, the orange on the chart, so more than 50% of in-market accounts for us before we moved to this process were actually not on a target list. If you think about how we do territories, they're static. You do them at the beginning of the year. And buying conditions change. Think about what we're going through right now. Those territories are toast. We can put them up in flames. And so we found that we were leaving everything in orange on the floor. And so that's why we decided to make this switch. Thank goodness we did it, to dynamic territories to make sure that we were, again, bringing in the most relevant, best opportunities for our AEs to work. And so it was kind of a bold move to declare no forms, no spam, no cold calls. But we did it, and people always want to know how it's going. And I like to show, this little clip of our AEs out and about with customers. This is pre-corona, when we still could be out and about, because these don't look like cold calls to me, and they look like they're doing pretty well. And, since we've been able to implement this process, we have doubled our pipeline, and our AEs are collectively at 103% of quota. And we've got an industry-leading CAC. So while it seems like a bold move, it's actually been able to really deliver predictable revenue for us. And I think the most motivating thing for me is when we get emails like this. So we're not a Forrester study, and we're not perfect. We're a data point of one, but pretty much consistently at the end of every quarter, we get emails from prospects who have become customers, calling out our sales team, calling out our BDR team, calling out our marketing approach, and how we've really focused on them and adding value throughout our process. And to me, that's all about insights and selling with insights. So hope you enjoyed. Please challenge yourself, get bold. I know it seems impossible, but there's no better time than now. And if you have any questions or want to ask me, please feel free to reach out. I'm on LinkedIn, and it's latane.conant@6sense.com. My last question is, who's in?